welcome to the stage, Drew Shula. Woo!
Woo woo! You're the best. Thank you. Welcome to the Net Zero Conference, everybody! Woo! Thank you all so much for being here today, and extra special thank you to the amazing Sarah Yorgrau of Common Ground Studios, two-time Emmy Award winner. Give it up for Sarah, please. Thank you, our MC. All right, most of you guys know me. I'm Drew, founder of the Net Zero Conference and CEO and founder of Verdical Group. I just want to start with a question today. Why are we all here today? People came from all over the country to California for the Net Zero Conference, but why? Why are we here today? I even have somebody from El Salvador and Norway here. Folks from all over the world are here today. To me, I think there's a lot of answers to that question, but for me, the most common thread for all of us in this net zero movement is that we love nature and we want to do business in a way that does no harm to the planet. We come together to solve the climate crisis, to stop the rise in atmospheric carbon and get off fossil fuels. Let's give it up for that, please. Off of fossil fuels. We're inspiring each other to build something that doesn't exist yet, a net zero future for everyone. A lot of you know me, I'm a music fan, I go to Coachella every year, I'm a dad with 3 kids, but you might not know that I'm also a recovering architect. And that's who I'm here to talk to you about today, architects. There's a couple architecture jokes that I know, they're super lame, but I just have to tell them. How do architects party, everybody? They raise the roof. I have one other architecture joke, do you want to hear it? Sorry, I'm still working on it. Okay, all right, it landed, okay. I'm allowed to poke some fun at architects because I was trained as an architect myself. I completed the 5-year professional degree in architecture at University of Notre Dame, went on to work at an architecture firm in LA before I decided that constantly pulling all-nighters for not enough money was kind of the definition of insanity. So I switched to environmental consulting, sustainability consulting. And now I work in the building industry and architects are my clients. And I might be trying to put myself out of a job today because I'm here to tell you that architects are dumb. Of course, no one in this room here today, none of you, just the rest of them. And I'm kidding, of course. Architects are amazing, they're awesome, they have the best glasses, the best outfits, they design incredible things. But in the context of the climate crisis, architects have become the most important person in the room, but almost none of them are acting like it. So why are architects so important? 42% of global carbon emissions come from the built environment. You can see on the graph here on the screen. 42% of global carbon emissions from buildings and infrastructure. And of course, it's not only architects, I'm picking on architects. The rest of design and construction team members are responsible as well. But architects are responsible for the overall team and the overall building design, so they get our spotlight today, our bright, bright spotlight focused on accountability. 42% of carbon emissions. This fact makes architects and the design decisions that they make incredibly important. Architects are one of the biggest contributors to the climate crisis, but this also gives them the incredible opportunity to be one of the biggest heroes in solving it. So why do I think architects are dumb? Or maybe they've gotten dumber over time. But back when I was a lowly undergrad architecture student at Notre Dame, we learned about Vitruvius. I have some things to say about Vitruvius, but the first thing I want to say is anybody that goes by one name you know is just a badass. And there's another woman that you all know by one name as well. Her name is Kamala. Let's give it up for Kamala, please. Vitruvius, the famous 1st century Roman architect, he wrote the first ever book on architectural theory. Vitruvius wrote that all buildings should have 3 things. 1, strength. 2, utility. And 3, beauty. So architects had to deliver these 3 things. Doesn't seem too bad, it seems manageable. In more recent times, architects, in my opinion, primarily deliver 2 things. 1 is being design a nice building, and 2, within your budget. So moving forward, we need folks to please not kill the planet when doing these two things. Make the building also sustainable. So we need to add a third thing back into the mix. So architects throw up their hands. We got used to doing just two things. We can't go back to doing three. No. But we can do it. Architects, we believe in you. It's possible. This is why I say we need more architectural disobedience. The entire building industry is incredibly resistant to change. Not just architects, but owners, developers, builders, engineers. Slow as molasses. Just as leaders use civil disobedience to instigate social change, we need architects to step out of their comfort zones and use architectural disobedience to help solve the climate crisis. But this does require thinking for yourself, pushing the envelope, not just doing what you're told, thinking outside of the box, creative problem solving, all these things that basically architects do every day. This is how they think of themselves. They're visionaries. But can architects really do these things to help solve the climate crisis? Humans are so hard to understand sometimes. We know we're doing the wrong thing and we still don't fix it. We know to be healthy we need to eat right and exercise and sleep, but I'm just pulled to the Netflix and the chocolate ice cream every night. I can't resist it. It's so hard. As Greta Thunberg famously said at the age of 15, we've already solved the climate crisis, we just haven't done it yet. And this is absolutely true in the building industry. We know exactly what we need to do, but we fail to do it most of the time. We have all the technology and knowledge we need. We have a ton of real-world case studies from right here at the Net Zero Conference, from project teams who are already delivering net zero projects. Net zero buildings are better. They're more resilient. They function from the sun and the rain on your site. They're not reliant on fossil fuels, but architects aren't pushing them enough towards their clients. Here's a meme for you. Architects, engineers who can't do math. Another fun fact about architects, most architects hate math. I was an architect myself. I'm not a math fan either. Most folks got into architecture for the design side of things. But I have a little bit of math here on these next couple of slides. Architects, stay with me. Don't start daydreaming immediately. I want to talk about some data, some numbers that are available today, and we can make some assumptions projecting into the future. We can go beyond the environmental imperative to act, if saving the planet's just not that important to you, to think about the impact on human life. These numbers are just big assumptions. I'm not presenting them as scientific fact, but I think they illustrate a really important point. So hang with me here. So of course, today we're in the year 2024, 2030, 5 or 6 years away. But as of today, already, tens of thousands of people are dying from climate change every year, this year in 2024. Tens of thousands of people, hurricanes, natural disasters, the like. By 2030, the World Health Organization expects 250,000 deaths annually as a result of climate change. Carbon emissions drive global warming and the climate crisis. So of the 250,000 deaths per year projected by 2030, if 42%, remember the previous slide, if 42% of carbon emissions can be attributed to architects' buildings, then the world's architects could be considered responsible for 100,000 deaths per year by 2030. If there are approximately 3.5 million architects globally, I Googled this, and about 120,000 licensed architects in the US as of last year, then we have 3.43% of the world's architects right here in the United States. So American architects will be responsible for 3,430 global climate-related deaths per year by 2030. So again, these are just big assumptions to illustrate a point, but there is an impact on human life from the choices, the decisions, the actions that we make in our projects. And I truly don't think this is overly dramatic. Everyone working in the building industry really impacts people through carbon emissions around the world. It's a largely invisible problem that sadly I think most architects ignore. But now we all know, no more plausible deniability for anybody in this room today. We can all work together to help to solve this problem. As an industry, we can make this happen. Becoming an architect is hard. You have to do extra years of college. You have to complete the intern development program training hours in a firm, and You take a bunch of exams, just like doctors do, to get licensed. It's a long and arduous road, and it culminates in the US with the American Institute of Architecture's AIA licensing exams. And the primary stated purpose of the AIA's exam process to license architects in the US is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. So hopefully you're catching the irony here. If US architects are responsible for the deaths of more than 3,000 people per year by 2030 as a result of the carbon impact of buildings, then a bunch of questions in the AIA's licensing exams must be about net zero, design, and climate and sustainability. You would think, but unfortunately that's not the case. I'm not a licensed architect myself. I never took the exams, but I did ask around a few of my classmates from college and some of my architecture friends. None of them remember hardly anything related to climate or sustainability in the AIA architecture licensing exams. Of the 6 sections of the exam, not one is focused on sustainability or climate. Hopefully this will change in the future. New architects keep getting licensed every year with the stated purpose of protecting public health, safety, and welfare, and the death toll from climate impact of buildings keeps rising and rising. Architects project willful ignorance into the world. They just aren't thinking about the sustainability impacts of their projects, along with the oversized fossil fuel burning HVAC systems in their designs. Dumb architects are designing climate dumb buildings. Again, none of you. I know I'm preaching to the choir today. No one in the room today. Of course, all of you are leaders here at the Net Zero Conference. But net zero buildings are still very, very rare. Remember, we know how to solve the climate crisis, we just haven't done it yet. We know how to design net zero buildings, we just aren't doing enough of it yet. So here's a list of 3 things architects need to do. Design a great building, beautiful, within the budget, of course, but also without killing people. Seriously, how hard is it to do your job without doing harm? I have a couple quick projects that show a beautiful project here that our Verdical group team is working on with NAC Architects and Koning Eisenberg, 2 great firms. It's in Malibu. It's a high school building. You can see a beautiful solar canopy. This is a net zero project in Malibu here in Southern California. And finally, the Bullitt Center. I'm hoping most of you are aware of this project. This is not one that I worked on, but a landmark project in the US. This is one of the first commercial office multi-story net zero projects designed by Miller Hull, who's been with us here at the Net Zero Conference for many years, a Seattle-based architecture firm. And it was built in 2013. That was 11 years ago now, over a decade ago. It's a long time ago. And still, how rare are net zero buildings today? 10 years later. Another fun fact, the Bullitt Center CEO and chairman, Dennis Hayes, was one of our Trailblazer Award winners a couple years ago. Give it up for Dennis and his leadership through the Bullitt Foundation. It's been amazing. When I talk about net zero, I always talk about a scale. We need enough renewable energy generated on the site, typically through solar, sometimes wind, geothermal, to balance out the energy demand of the building. That's the definition of net zero. On site, no fossil fuels. Adding the operational carbon along with the embodied carbon are how we're going to get that 42%. That's how we add up to get that 42% of carbon emissions from the built environment. Buildings and infrastructure. And the blue text on the screen are the 2 tools that we can use to reduce that carbon impact. The first being energy modeling, the second being the life cycle assessment. I just want to talk a little bit about these 2 things. It's important just to understand what they are. The first tool or service used to achieve net zero building performance in design is an energy model. You can see a couple renderings on the screen here. Energy models help reduce the operational carbon, the energy needed to heat and cool and turn on the lights. It's typically a 3D model, and you input all the design information into the model, your HVAC, your lighting, windows, wall thicknesses, etc. As the architect moves through their design process, the energy model develops right alongside it, iteratively. And you can update the design so the architect can understand, if I put a window here, what does that do to my energy performance? The second tool that focuses on the embodied carbon reduction in a project, just as important, is the life cycle assessment, or commonly abbreviated as LCA. This is looking at the materials and being manufactured in a factory somewhere in the world and then shipped to the project site. So the energy used to create in the factory and then ship it around the world is what we're looking at around embodied carbon. The carbon impact of each material specified by the architect in the project is reviewed and lower carbon alternatives are suggested through the LCA process. If all architecture firms would simply require completing an energy model and a life cycle assessment on all of their projects, we would be well on our way to solving the building industry's contribution to the climate crisis. And wouldn't it make sense for all future architects to really understand energy modeling and life cycle assessments on their licensing exams? I think so. Once people do gather the collective will to change, it's amazing how fast it happens. California's then Governor Jerry Brown was facing a water crisis from an ongoing drought in California, as we frequently face. Governor Brown enacted statewide water restrictions, and overnight, water use in the entire state of California, the world's 6th largest economy, dropped by 25%. Overnight. Policy works. Once enough people are educated about the climate crisis to reach a tipping point, we will get this solved. I am a climate optimist. I know that we'll get there. But today, we're in that very difficult place of still trying to get there. Vertical Group's only being hired on projects with super aggressive sustainability goals. Most projects today still don't have a sustainability consultant on the team, or any sustainability goals on the project for that matter. Many architects still don't understand what an energy model or a life cycle assessment even is. But acknowledging these challenges, we know what the future of buildings looks like. In the future, every building will be a net zero building, harvesting all the energy it needs from the sun and wind, all the water it needs from the rain and the atmosphere. All building materials will be entirely non-toxic and biodegradable, organic. Our buildings of the future will be able to decompose at the end of life back into the soil, just as a tree does in the forest. No negative impact. What a pure vision of what the future of building will be. If architects can wake up and change, choose to make climate action a priority on every project, whether the client asks for it or not, when every building their firm designs each year is net zero, and architects complete an energy model and a life cycle assessment on 100% of their designs, that 42% of global carbon emissions from buildings will be zero. And architects will have been a massive part of solving the climate crisis. And that will be absolutely heroic. And architects can do that. So as we gather here today at the 11th annual Net Zero Conference, we've all seen the graph showing the spike in atmospheric carbon since industrialization. And it's time we do something about it. For all of us to start to work together to make change happen. Architects, we truly believe in you. So please go back to your firms, back to your desk, and start solving the climate crisis today. Start reducing carbon on every single one of your projects. I really believe that we are what we decide to be in this world. You're in the job that you're in today because you made choices to get there. You're in this room today because you made choices to be here. And architects can decide to be the visionary hero, the one with the stylish outfit and the super cool glasses. They can be the climate action heroes that we know that they can be. So let's add a whole new section to those AIA licensing exams. Let's get every single building to net zero performance, and let's stop designing climate-dumb buildings. Let's all take action in our work today. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate you all being here. Thanks for coming to the Net Zero Conference again this year.